Hello and welcome back to Dukascopy TV. You're joining me, Natalie MacDonald, in the Geneva studio for another exclusive interview. Up next, I'm joined by Dr. Rodney Irwin of the World Business Council for Sustainable Development. Rodney, thank you very much for coming in today.
It's my pleasure.
Okay, so you are in charge of financial capital at the World Business Council for Sustainable Development. Firstly, how does this feed into, firstly, the economy and subsequently sustainable development?
Well, I think we need to maybe just go back and determine what sustainable development is. And the whole sustainability agenda has been sort of getting a lot of attention recently because many organisations, particularly businesses, are starting to disclose performance in traditional areas that haven't been required to be disclosed. And that's what many organisations are terming sustainability or sustainable development. The financial capital piece has always got attention within an organisation. A business has always been obligated to report on its financial performance, its revenues, its profitability, and obviously disclosing its assets and liabilities. But there's a growing interest in the impact that business is having on other aspects of either the world or the societies that operate within the world. And that's where the intersection of this concept of different capitals comes together. So we're very familiar, and of course I'm here in a bank, so we're very familiar with the concept of financial capital, but there is a growing interest in by the investment community, but also by society at large and by governments and regulators around how business is interacting with not only financial capital, but also societal capital and natural capital. And these are two things that have historically not been on the agenda of business. So financial capital is in many ways seen as an artificial means by which the others are traded. But yet it is the others that really are important for the survival of human life and for the quality of that human life. So it's hard to say how they're interacting, but there is a friction at the moment which many organisations acknowledge and which governments are also getting to grips with.
You mentioned there corporate reporting, and last year I saw that you noted that business reputation was really at a low, due in part to a lack of reporting. How have corporations come on since then, and how does the WBCSD support that?
Okay, corporate reporting has historically been the annual report and the sometimes quarterly or half-yearly update to the investment community, and that stuff's great. I mean, it's necessary. It's what makes the wheels of the economy move, if you like. However, we've seen a trend since around the 1980s for businesses to want to disclose other forms of performance, and that's sort of going at a very rapid rate at the moment in various parts of the world. Now, corporate reporting in general is regulated. It's either done through stock exchange listings or through corporate law. Non-financial reporting, sustainability reporting, combined reporting, integrated reporting, or whatever you want to call it, is in some locations starting to be regulated, but in the mainstream is voluntary. And to support that voluntary ambition that companies have, we see the emergence of some reporting frameworks, some reporting standards, and some reporting guidelines that allow an organisation to determine what it wants to disclose and how it should do that. So at the WBCSD, we're trying to work with our members to improve the quality and accuracy and frequency of reporting internally, so that informed decisions can be taken by senior management as to the investments they want to take. Now, the sustainability agenda basically says that there are a number of areas in the world that require significant attention because we're on a trajectory that's likely to cause problems in the long term. Maybe not for this generation, but certainly for the generations to come. And certainly people are starting to acknowledge that they have a duty in what they're going to hand over. So what we're trying to encourage businesses to do is think out of the box and to think creatively about some of the solutions that are needed. And that fits in with the strategy of the WBCSD, which we call Action 2020, which is encouraging business not only to acknowledge that there is a problem, but more importantly, think creatively about the solutions that are needed.
You've mentioned the Action 2020 strategy that you guys have. How does that act as a stepping stone towards the Vision 2050 strategy that you guys also have in place?
Right. Well, like all visions, vision is aspirational. It's usually very far into the future, and therefore the people that set that vision aren't necessarily going to be around to enjoy it if it comes to life. And with all visions, it's nothing until it becomes a reality. So in 2010, a group of leaders within the WBCSD, and when I mean leaders, I'm talking about the CEOs of some of the world's largest multinationals, got together and said, you know what, we need to think further ahead. We need to sort of put in paper what business believes should be the state of play. And they chose 2050 because it's not that far away, but it's still an achievable timescale for a change to be actioned. The reality, though, is that with any vision, you need an action plan. And action plans are more effective if they're at least shorter in term. So Action 2020 came about as a result of wanting to start the journey towards Vision 2050. But instead of just saying, well, this is what they said we're going to do, we took a step back and said, well, let's retouch this vision with the realities that we have today. So between 2010 and 2013, it doesn't take, unless somebody's been asleep, you will have noticed that a lot has happened in the world. There's been significant storms, there's been significant weather impacts, there's been social tensions on the rise, particularly around the Mediterranean and in other parts of the world. So the world's not static. So what we did was refocus with the scientific community to say, what are the priority areas that we need to work on? And not just from the natural sciences, but also from the social sciences. And what resulted from that are 9 areas that we call priority areas that we believe business should be focused on because they can actually generate significant solutions which can add value. So Action 2020 is not about defining the problem anymore. It's about acknowledging that business in collaboration with other partners and with governments need to create solutions.
Rodney, thank you so much. Pleasure to hear your thoughts today. Thank you so much for coming in. That's all we've got time for right now, but we'll be back shortly with plenty more exclusive interviews for you here at Dukascopy TV. Goodbye for now.